Hi, Trey Harrison here, and going forward on the Crash F1 YouTube channel, you'll be hearing me for weekly videos on the pinnacle of motorsport, so be sure to like and subscribe. So, we're now 2 race weekends into 2026, and with last week's Chinese Grand Prix a little bit more representative of what you'd call a typical F1 circuit, here's some observations from yours truly on the state of the sport, from the battle for the win to a rather dangerous Aston Martin at the rear. Let's talk about it. Number 1. Mercedes aren't quite as dominant as feared. Okay, first, the bad news. Mercedes are the clear best team in the field, and the pundits had the form book right from the start, especially over a single lap. Mercedes are averaging about a half-second advantage over the rest. But the good news is that they're probably not as dominant as many feared in race trim. China was an early example of Mercedes struggling to execute. Kimi Antonelli bogged down off the start in the sprint race, got a 10-second penalty for hitting Isaac Hadjar in the midfield and had to settle for 5th. Russell did the same in the Grand Prix and had to be double stacked in the pits, and then spent 2/3 of the race fighting the racy Ferraris before finally taking 2nd. Ferrari have some unique quirks that are keeping them in the fight, such as having a smaller turbo, which helps them get off the line quicker due to not needing as much time to spool up on the grid, and they can counter-punch in combat with their batteries for a little while, but they're just not as quick over longer runs due to struggling on tyre wear. The development race is going to play a critical role in the 2026 season, even more so now Bahrain and Saudi Arabia have been cancelled and we have a 5-week break after the Japanese Grand Prix. Teams will only learn more about their new cars as time goes on, and teams start committing to upgrades. We've already seen Ferrari attempt and withdraw both their Macarena rear wing and winglets on their Halo device of all places. Will it be enough for them to close the gap to Mercedes? Remains to be seen. Number 2. The chasing group might be out of the running already. McLaren and Red Bull are the clear 3rd and 4th best teams on raw speed, but their horrendous reliability has already left them 80 and 86 points off the championship lead after just 2 weekends. Oscar Piastri is already in the unique position of having points on the board via the Chinese sprint race, but is still yet to complete a single Grand Prix lap. Ironically, you'd have to go back to Bruce McLaren, the team's founding father, for the last time one of his named cars had back-to-back failures to start. Red Bull showed promise in pre-season, but that honeymoon period has ended with 2 technical failures and 4-time world champion Max Verstappen extremely frustrated at how the 2026 cars drive. We'll get back to his comments in a bit, but while in Red Bull's defense, day-to-day head of development Pierre Wache claimed they were always the 4th best team, I don't think anyone was expecting this many issues early on with Red Bull's first true power unit, especially with Ford's name on the door as well. And with Mercedes now back on top of the pecking order for the first time in 5 years, keeping Max happy could very well be Red Bull's number 1 priority going forward. Number 3. The field is split on the new regulations. The biggest talking point I'd argue right now has been how the 2026 cars feel. It's certainly divided opinion amongst fans and drivers alike. For every Lewis Hamilton and George Russell who claim they love these new cars, there's Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez who have both referenced Mario Kart as a verb because of the use of battery deployment as a passing tactic. Max would go as far as to say that if you liked it, you don't know what racing is about. Now, to be clear, Max has been consistent in his criticism of this rule set as far back as 2023 when it was in early development, so it is a consistent stance and not just a bitchy one because he's not winning anymore. But I think there's aspects of Max's argument I agree and disagree with. On the one hand, yes, super clipping, the power units regenning and skimming off speed isn't an ideal look when qualifying in the eyes of most is about all-out attack and speed. But I think that trade-off is worth it for the racing we now have. Cars can actually follow each other closer than they did before, there's genuine tactics over when to deploy your battery, it opens up more of the track to passing opportunities, as well as cars being able to counter-attack. I definitely have concerns about the future, with dirty air likely to rise again once teams inevitably find more downforce, but Australia and China aren't known for passing, and we've had two of their better races in recent years. I'd argue if you didn't enjoy Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton racing side by side through all of Sector 2, I'm not sure what you're actually here for. Calling other passes artificial feels like a slippery slope. When does it become fake? The DRS trains we used to have? Using 3 different tyre compounds for big offsets? How about refueling back in the V10 days? In any case, writing an entire tweakable regulation set off as a video game after just 2 races feels premature at best. Number 4, the midfield bar fight is back. Another fun fight we got during China was seeing the midfield teams scrap it out for decent points. Haas, Racing Bulls, Alpine and Audi all seem pretty closely ranked, and with reliability affecting the teams above them, there's good opportunities for points up for grabs. Ollie Behrman already has 17 of them, just 1 less than McLaren as a team. Pierre Gasly has already matched his best result of 2025 by finishing 6th in China. Liam Lawson had a double points weekend for Racing Bulls. Gabriel Bortoleto stormed through to points in Australia on Audi's debut, and Franco Colapinto just got his first point for Alpine. Hell, even Williams' Carlos Sainz, in a car rumoured to be nearly 30 kilos overweight, is now on the board. With tens of millions of dollars on the line in the Constructors' Championship, this could be one of the more underrated storylines of 2026, seeing which one of the midfield contenders could end up finishing 5th overall. I think it's between Haas and Alpine right now, but that could certainly change as the year goes on. And number 5, Aston Martin is unfit for racing. One team that certainly isn't in that fight right now though is Aston Martin, whose struggles were probably underestimated even after a disastrous preseason. Since then, we've had the startling reveal that the car's vibrations are so severe that Fernando Alonso had to take his hands off the wheel in a straight line to avoid speedrunning carpal tunnel before parking his car early. On top of that, not one of their cars has completed a full race distance yet, with Stroll 15 laps down in Australia and out early in China with a battery failure. What makes the situation even stranger was Adrian Newey's bizarre media presser in Australia, claiming he felt the car had a top 5 chassis and that it was only about a second off the top contenders. That feels like pointing blame in Honda's direction unfairly, because nothing about the car is what I'd consider good. And with reports that Aston Martin didn't visit Honda to find out about the latter's depleted staff until November, Silverstone feels like a team lacking key communication, leadership, and any firm plan to get back into contention. It could be a long spring for the sport's biggest disappointment so far. That's all for me for now. What have you made of the F1 2026 season so far? Let me know what you think in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe if you've made it this far, and I'll be back next week for another F1 video on Crash.net.